In November 2025, a staggering 1.2 million tons of Iranian crude oil arrived in China, not by sea but by train, deep within its western frontier. This was no ordinary delivery. It was a logistical marvel that exposed the porousness of Western sanctions. For decades, the US and its allies relied on controlling maritime choke points to pressure nations like Iran. The arrival of this oil by land signaled a fundamental shift. The West's primary tool of leverage was being bypassed. Intelligence agencies had tracked Iran's shadow fleet of tankers, but a transcontinental railway was a new, permanent challenge. This wasn't a workaround, it was a new economic artery, pumping sanctioned resources directly into China, outside Western oversight. The event revealed deep strategic coordination between Beijing and Tehran, forcing a painful reassessment in Western policy circles. The China-Iran rail corridor shattered assumptions that land-based oil transport was too complex or costly to be viable. While the West focused on naval patrols, China was quietly redrawing the map of global trade on land. The shipment was a quiet triumph for Beijing's Belt and Road Initiative, transforming it into a powerful tool for influence and resource security. If China and Iran could move this much oil by rail, what else could they transport? Goods, technology, even military hardware. This single shipment signaled the opening move in a new great game for control over global commerce and energy. The new rail corridor is a modern-day Silk Road stretching over 10,400 kilometers from Xi'an, China, through Kazakhstan and Turkmenistan, to Tehran, Iran. Years of planning under China's Belt and Road Initiative made this direct link possible. The first official freight train arrived in May 2024, marking a new era in transcontinental trade. Unlike the 30-40-day sea journey, the rail line delivers oil in just 15 days, a massive strategic advantage. Faster delivery, reduced costs, and a predictable supply chain insulate this energy flow from maritime disruptions. The project required unprecedented coordination among China, Iran, and Central Asian nations to harmonize customs and logistics. For Kazakhstan and Turkmenistan, the corridor brings lucrative transit fees and cements their role as vital land bridges. The railway is designed for two-way traffic. Oil and resources flow east, while Chinese goods travel west. This symbiotic relationship deepens economic integration and challenges the established global trade order. The corridor isn't just about oil, it's about building a self-sustaining economic ecosystem that binds these nations together. The China-Iran rail corridor is a direct response to decades of US-led sanctions against Iran. By shifting trade from the open seas to the Eurasian interior, the rail line creates a sanctions-proof channel. For Iran, it's an economic lifeline, providing reliable oil exports and crucial revenue. The railway reduces Iran's dependence on risky shadow tanker fleets and offers greater security. For China, it means energy independence from US pressure and a stable supply of discounted oil. This move asserts China's foreign policy independence and weakens a key tool of American power. The rail line operates in a gray zone, beyond the reach of US naval power or sanctions enforcement. China and Iran have created a commercial reality. The US can condemn, but cannot easily stop. The corridor exposes the limits of sanctions in a world where powerful nations build alternative systems. The foundation for this rail shipment was laid in 2021, when China and Iran signed a 25-year, $400 billion comprehensive strategic partnership. At its core, Iran guarantees China a steady, discounted oil supply. China invests billions in Iran's economy. Transactions bypass the US dollar, using yuan, or barter, directly challenging the dollar's global dominance. This closed-loop system lets China and Iran trade freely, immune to US financial pressure. Chinese investments are transforming Iran's energy, transportation, and infrastructure sectors. Upgraded oil fields, new refineries, and modernized railways are central to the deal. For China, it secures energy and creates a captive market for its goods and technology. The pact turns Iran into a key node in China's geopolitical strategy, providing a reliable partner in a volatile region. This $400 billion handshake is about more than oil, it's about influence, supply chains, and building new alliances. China's overland oil route addresses its Malacca dilemma, the vulnerability of relying on the easily blockaded Strait of Malacca. Over 80% of China's imported oil passes through this choke point, making it a strategic weakness. The new rail corridor through Central Asia and Iran offers a direct solution, reducing dependency on vulnerable sea lanes. This diversification insulates China from disruptions caused by blockades, piracy, or regional conflict. The rail line acts as a strategic insurance policy, ensuring energy flows can't be easily choked off. It also bypasses the volatile Persian Gulf and Strait of Hormuz, where US and Iranian forces frequently clash. Moving oil overland through allied nations keeps it far from hostile naval fleets. This shift from sea to land marks a fundamental reorientation of China's grand strategy. By building overland corridors, China is reducing the power of maritime choke points and the nations that control them. The launch of the rail corridor came amid escalating Middle East tensions. In June 2024, Israeli airstrikes targeted Iranian infrastructure, including oil facilities crucial to China. Tehran's main refinery and the South Pars gas field, key Chinese investments, were hit, exposing the vulnerability of the energy supply. The attacks sent a message: even with a secure land route, the source remains at risk. China responded swiftly. At the UN, its representative condemned Israel's actions as violations of international law. China's foreign minister declared, "We cannot just stand by and watch." This marked a shift from China's usual diplomatic caution to open defense of its interests. By taking a public stand, China signaled it was no longer a passive observer in the Middle East. Its investments and energy interests in Iran had become core foreign policy priorities. The message to the West: attacks on infrastructure linked to China would meet strong diplomatic resistance. Under Western pressure, Iran has pivoted strategically eastward. The rail corridor with China is just one part of a broader effort to reorient trade and diplomacy toward Asia. Iran is positioning itself as a hub connecting Central Asia, Russia, and the Indian subcontinent, building a resilient network of trade and infrastructure. Strengthening ties with Central Asian neighbors, Iran has signed dozens of agreements to streamline logistics and cooperation. Iran is also a key player in the international north-south transport corridor, linking India, Russia, and Europe. By diversifying partnerships with China, Russia, India, and Central Asia, Iran avoids overdependence on any single power. This pivot is a proactive vision for a new geopolitical role in a multipolar world. The arrival of Iranian oil by rail is a clear illustration of China's grand strategy to reshape the world order. Beijing's goal: secure its economic and energy needs, free from Western interference. The rail corridor is a physical reality operating outside Western maritime and financial systems, neutralizing American power. China is outpacing rival projects like the India-Middle East-Europe corridor, which remain mostly on paper. Security concerns elsewhere make the Central Asian route more attractive and reliable. China's pragmatic approach adapts to shifting political and security landscapes. The objective: a network of secure land and sea routes guaranteeing resource flows to and from China. This event marks a watershed moment. Sanctions are less effective in a multipolar world. Land-based trade is rising as a counter to maritime dominance, solidifying a new Eurasian bloc. The train has left the station, pulling the center of global power eastward.